particularly some of the controversy that's going around in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world at the moment. I think it's a good topic to talk on. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mat Chats, your Jiu-Jitsu podcast. I'm Richard Kavanagh. This is Professor Thiago Braga. This is episode 2. Before we kick off, do us a favor, if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it will help the algorithm push us up to more Jiu-Jitsu fans like yourselves. And if you can leave a comment for us, let us know if you like this format of us sitting on the mat. You prefer us in our kimonos, our gi, or in our street clothes, or do you want us to go into a podcast studio? I'll leave it up to them.
Great, yeah, well, on the mats at the moment it feels comfortable, but let people decide where we should be,
Let's let the people choose.
Maybe go into an office, put a suit on, we'll see.
Hey, I want to kick off. We've got a few things to cover off. We're going to talk about the difference between Aussie versus Brazil. We're going to do a little technique breakdown and do a recap or just a review of Subversion X8. We're going to talk about the uncomfortable moment of the week. We're going to talk about, because it's International Women's Day this past weekend, we're going to talk about what it's like to roll with women and, particularly some of the controversy that's going around in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world at the moment. I think it's a good topic to talk on. Definitely pros and cons there. And then we're going to preview Subversion 19, which is coming up this weekend. Thiago and myself will be calling the matches.
Yes, we'll be commenting, and it's I didn't believe they could get a more stacked card, but it looks like they outdone themselves. So
man, wait till you
wait and see.
It's fire. Hey, let's start with Aussie versus Brazil. I want to know, as a Kiwi living in Aussie, what's the difference between Brazilian barbecue and Aussie barbecue?
Well, Richard, I think there's not much discussion on that, but let's try to be fair with both sides. I feel as a Brazilian living in Australia, believe it or not, I have some parts of Aussie barbecue that I have adopted. It's maybe a minor little part.
Shrimp.
Shrimp, no, and the barbecue type. In Brazil, we have the traditional on the coal, on using on the spit barbecue type of thing, which is great. I would say the coal gives that extra taste to the meat, but to be honest, I love barbecue, and I like to have barbecue sometimes for dinner after training. I like to get home and cook my barbecue. There's nothing more practical than a gas Weber. There's nothing that can get it done as fast. Yeah. I'll tell you what, you might lose 3% of the taste, with the coal if you're using the right type of wood even, but it converts perfectly. But do you see any differences as someone maybe less biased than me?
Well, look, given the fact that I've only, maybe in the last 5 or 6 years experienced Brazilian barbecue for the first time in my life, particularly when we have legacy events and the King's Barbecue team come along and set up their portable thing, the coals, the fire, the big skewers, the meat, it feels like it's the Brazilian
ritual.
Barbecue is much more ritual, right?
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it. There's much more involved. It's like, I feel like the guys who are cooking are really passionately involved in choosing the meat and prepping it on the skewers and turning it and basting it, and then they slice it up and serve it. Whereas I find that with Aussie barbecue, Kiwi's probably pretty similar. You just choose your cut of meat, slap it on, serve it up.
What is a simple thing that, I'm from South Brazil, I'm a gaúcho, which is where barbecue comes from in Brazil. And there's one thing, even when I cook a barbecue here in Australia, and I feel that I would say is one of the main differences, like you mentioned, is the ritual, but there's some art to it. And I find when I'm cooking a barbecue, for example, the typical Aussie barbecue, whatever you're cooking, beef, pork, ribs, sausages, prawns, you just put everything spread all over your barbecue and try to cook it at a high fire, make sure everything is ready, and then you serve all of that on the table so people can serve themselves. Meat goes cold, and things are not really ready at the same time naturally. So what I try to do when I cook a barbecue, even on my Aussie Weber, I will cut the meat at different thicknesses. So for some people that like medium rare or medium, I will adjust that on the thickness of the meat when I put it. And the art of barbecue is to savor it. Let's say if you were trying wine, you're not gonna just get a glass of wine and scull it, right? You will maybe taste a different one.
It depends on the day.
It depends on the day. But if you wanted to really get the flavor of it. So what I find is with barbecue, the trick is, for us Brazilians, is to serve in parts. Like I put some meat, then I get that meat out, I prepare that, I serve that, then I get the next bit and the next bit. And I feel that kind of gives a bit of the ritual and the creates expectation, it hypes it up, the meal you're having. So anyway, there's a lot more to it, but that's what I see it. In saying that, Weber barbecue, definitely an add-on to Brazilians.
Well, I think that's the convenience of the Aussie barbecue is that you can just whip it out, fire it up, turn it on anytime, day or night, whereas I feel like, to your point, there's a lot more ritual with the Brazilian barbecue.
100%.
So let's talk about Subversion X8. That was our first event commentating together.
Yeah.
I have to say, from my own personal experience, that was the highlight of 12 years of jiu-jitsu for me. That was like one of the best things I've ever done. I don't know why or what it was, but I'm still buzzing over that experience. I enjoyed it so much.
You know what? And that's so cool, Richard, because I enjoy. One of the reasons, actually, being full disclosure, that I've accepted when the boys invited me the first time, Matt and George, to commentate Subversion, is so I get more experience speaking in front of the camera, or especially on a broadcast like Subversion, and I enjoy. I'm not sure if I was like that enthusiastic in the beginning as you. Maybe because I was a bit more nervous. You were already a natural on speaking in public and all that. But it's really cool to see doing it with you that the first time made me more enthusiastic about it, because you came in and you were completely pumped to do it. So I was like, well, let's take it to the next level now.
Yeah. Look, I was surprised by that because, I do have a fair bit of experience in public speaking on stages and on camera and, on television, both live and pre-recorded television. And I've never mixed my hobbies. I've never brought my martial arts love into my kind of work life. Man. Why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah, but to be talking about something that, let's say, if we were just sitting at home, we'll be talking about it anyway.
Exactly.
So it's like,
And the
hopefully people keep enjoying listening to us, though.
Well, hopefully they did enjoy it. The card itself was stacked. The bonuses for fight of the night, submission of the night, takedown of the night, fastest submission, I felt like they all went to the right people. It was a few months ago now. Admittedly, we did have the intention of following up with another Matt Chats episode shortly afterwards, but Christmas and new academies opening and life gets in the way of things, right?
Yeah, so we wanted to come back straight away, and it would have. This time we'll try straight after Subversion first week, because now it's a bit hard to comment back in detail about the matches. Of course, we still have enough fresh in our, or have not fresh, but we have in our minds the things that got our attention the most. But going back.
What do you reckon? What was one thing that you recall as a highlight from that event?
There were quite a few. As I mentioned to you on the day, the fight between Edie and Healy, for me, in my humble opinion, was the best match of the night. It was technically intensity, is what people were there to watch, is what people paid to see.
Yeah.
So, but again, like you said, all the prizes were fair because there were so many good matches, so many submissions, so many people just going out there and getting it. But what do you think? What got you the most?
Look, I think we talked about it on the night, and I felt like we both felt like that match deserved match of the night. The girls who did win match of the night, I think, deserved it equally. It was an equally entertaining match. But for me, the highlight, and this is probably biased, but Janji Valverde hitting the Uchimata slam straight into mount. That was a big takedown and a big highlight for me. And I've actually gone back and watched that highlight multiple times because I'd like to take that.
Yeah, that was a big one. Especially, I said to George when they were, when they got Shanji, I said, look, I can guarantee that he will put it on show, and he had a tough opponent, play a tight guard, and I felt that Shanji, as he does in the gym, as he does in every tournament, he only has one mode, the full action-packed mode.
Yep.
And he went into throw, and I'll tell you what, if he knew about all the prizes, and he could get paid for it, I think he would have chased a few more. I think he would try to get fight of the night, take down the night, faster submission. He would have tried to pack all of that in a bundle and go home, with a pocket full of cash.
Yeah.
And
the way he trains and the way he fights, he probably would have got them all if he'd known about it.
Yes. And one other that we're probably very biased to see was Adrian Hart. I think Bias, he's one of us. He's one of our team team members, and one of my students from the beginning, trains with the team. He had now under not only my guidance, but Warwick and Kyle watching him closely as well. And I think it's fair to say that he's been growing from belt to belt, blue, purple. He had difficult times at purple, and then starting the brown. He's been always at the top of his belt in the comps, but I think it would be fair to say that his performance at this Subversion X8, if it's not, it's close to being his best performance ever. Sometimes you win a match because you got a good submission, or because you were more dominant, or you were stronger, or you just had more gas in the tank. When you dominate everywhere, top, bottom, ground, takedowns, when you dominate everywhere, it's the highlight, and you get a submission at the end.
Yeah, definitely an outstanding performance from Adrian, and I can't wait to see him on this upcoming card on Subversion 19. Leading into that, I think, just to bounce off what you've said with Adrian, he has had a phenomenal shift in his mindset over the last, I suppose, 18 months to 2 years, where he's really switched on. A switch has flipped. He's always been technically excellent. He's always been a fantastic, beautiful technical jiu-jitsu, but he's flipped a switch mentally recently, and that was, shown at Subversion, and that followed on with his performance at Pan Pacs, where he won double gold with 8 wins, 6 submissions.
He's been on fire. He's in a very good run. And I think the fact that he's been competing for quite a while, and he turned on that switch and he's on to competing, I think the reason why he's doing so well, of course, the more you win, the more pressure you add to yourself. But as all of us that had the other side, I think Adrian had early in his career some losses, and he got a few second places, lost a few finals. So I think he's just not that scared of losing. He knows how it feels, and he's ready to push forward. And I think putting that together with his training, his discipline, it's just giving him the good results now.
Yeah, look out black belt when he gets there. He's already killing all the brown belts.
It's coming.
Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about a topic that's been kind of bouncing around social media, and I think it's an important topic to discuss as jiu-jitsu grows, as more women start to join the community and start training with us and move up through the ranks. What are your thoughts on training protocols with women? What are some good ways to train with women? What are some things that we should look out for? And just talk about training with women.
Yeah, I think in the years, let's say jiu-jitsu, it was a very male-dominant sport from its roots, and thankfully now with the years that it's been developing, it's becoming more of a male and female. And in some cases, if we commented on our first episode, if you take Australia as an example, we have a lot more world champions or even ADCC champions from Australia, for female team in Australia, than from the male team. So I think the girls are equally as good as men nowadays, and the participation of women is growing more and more in jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, in some cases, hopefully minor cases, it's been happening, these very unfortunate situations where they haven't been as respected as they should on the mats, or things have been not being so good. But my view in terms of training with women is that we just should learn to make it as less awkward as possible. And the advice that I give to people, I've even been discussing with people at the gym, is if our sport is one of the most, it's extreme contact. If we were to map out, you can have much more contact than you have in training jiu-jitsu. And it is a fact that at some point you will touch or rub yourself in someone in a way that could be deemed inappropriate.
Well, it's an extremely physically intimate sport.
Exactly. And the way around it is, if it happens, if at any point happens, address it straight away. If I touch you in the wrong way, look, I'm sorry, and go past that.
Yeah.
I think the fact of not acknowledging or making it awkward it just doesn't address the elephant in the room and it makes things worse. And of course, and I believe the people that are not in jiu-jitsu for the right intentions over the years have been weeded out and will continue to be. You know, I feel, of course, measures to keep it as safe as possible, and not men, women, everyone has to be respected equally on the mats. That's paramount, but keep jiu-jitsu not awkward.
Well, yeah, keep jiu-jitsu awkward. No, keep it not awkward. I agree with you. I think the idea of just as-ising it, if you accidentally touch someone, I mean, it happens when we're rolling. Oops, sorry. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. That's an easy way to just neutralize any awkwardness or uncomfortableness. Look, I from my point of view as a smaller person, I really enjoy training with women because it means that I can train with people who are my same size or a little bit smaller. Often they're more agile, faster, and a lot of the women that we train with are very technical. Yeah. So, and because I'm naturally got old man strength, it forces me to relax and be more playful.
Of course.
And meet their force with equal or lesser force. And it's made my game much more fluid and much more technical by having really great female training partners.
100%. And one thing that you mentioned that I think it's even equally important is how do we train with women? There is the part of inappropriate touching someone and how to address that. We just mentioned, just address it, you know. But the second part is, I wouldn't say even men and women. I would say with a big size difference. You know, a much heavier person against a much lighter person. How do you train? I feel that often guys, heavier guys, when they train with girls, either they disregard the weight difference and just go full power and crush them. I mean, women or someone much smaller. Or they go completely limp and don't move, and it becomes like a waste of time on that round.
A wet fish.
And I believe the best approach, or what I try to do with everyone that I train that there's a size difference, someone much smaller than me, is to match the skill, the intensity, and just pull back on the strength. You know, because if I'm training with someone heavier than me, that's when I can test my strength. I can go in and try to add some power to it. If I'm training with someone that is, like you said, smaller, more agile, faster, or equally or more skilled, well, let's see if I can play that game now, because that will be to my own benefit in my jiu-jitsu. If I try to train with a smaller girl or a smaller guy, and try to see if I can outpower them at any given time in the match, that's not adding anything to myself in my own division later.
It's not adding anything to you, and it's not adding anything to them. I think of the way that you train with different partners can have kind of seasons, right? Like there are times where you need to be lighter and more playful and work on your skills or something very specific and technical, and there are times where you need to test your strength and power and go hard. Of course.
Right? You need all aspects of your jiu-jitsu.
And I think as well, it's a gift that you can give to other people, is to be a really great training partner for them by matching their intensity, matching their technique, matching their strength, and giving them, especially at black belt level when you're training with people who are coming up, giving them some insights into where there's got holes in their game, right? Like work with them at their speed and pace and then show them all the holes in their game.
Yeah, or even technically, for example, with all my students, guys or girls, but girls that are like purple, brown belts or black belts, that are smaller than me, what I try to do is not to go easy on them. I try to actually create traps. I play a lot more on creating traps, on like inducing them to make a mistake. There's nothing better than being able to catch someone clean without needing to apply extra force. And if I can catch a good grappler, smaller or bigger, but in this case a smaller grappler, I can catch them clean in a submission or get a clean back take, a clean sweep without having to use power, means I could use that on someone bigger and it should work the same. So I find that when I try to match that speed and pace, sometimes I train with my, let's say, one of the purple belt girls at the gym, and I will still try to catch them 3, 4, 5 times if I can, within those boundaries of how much force I'm applying and how am I moving. But if I can trick people into falling into my traps 5 times in a round, whoever they are, the white belts, if they fall, they learn better this way. there's no point for us to come here and squash beginners on the mats. But by getting them to fall into some tricks and teach them that way, you actually add into their game. Everyone should have the right to have a fair match, to have a proper go. If you go easy on them, they're not really learning.
The only trick I think when it comes to women, rolling with women and matching their strength, is you have to be careful, because there are some women out there who are savage competitors. And I've made the mistake, with a couple of women in particular, of taking light grips and then being beaten up.
It happens,
With a fast, powerful, concise, decisive competitor.
Yeah, well, but that's where the beauty of jiu-jitsu is. It's not a more giving everything else being the same, strength, size, power, technique will decide.
Every time.
But having an opponent that's sometimes not as skilled, but 20, 30 kilos heavier, and super athletic will make the difference. But this opponent being stronger, heavier, and sometimes not being a match in skill can go the other way.
Exactly.
And that's what we're here for. That's what we train for.
Well, I think I think just to kind of round that out, there's some real opportunities for men, particularly those of us who want to compete and want to train hard and learn more, to train with women to sharpen your skill, to give them really good opportunity to learn by, like you say, setting traps, being very, very technical and helping them grow. But I also think when you think of jiu-jitsu for self-defense, giving women the opportunity to actually complete powerful submissions against a strong athletic man is really valuable for them in everyday life, right?
Of course. Well, I believe, then we go back to talking about self-defense. What is self-defense? And when we see the traditional Gracie self-defense or all the self-defense programs, a lot of people question, does that work or not? Of course it works. That's a skilled jiu-jitsu or self-defense person versus a non-skilled person. Now, when we talk about today's world, where everyone is becoming more and more skilled, that's when our sport jiu-jitsu become the best form of self-defense, because you are actually capable you practice every day on the mats how to get out of very bad positions with someone that knows how to apply them, not someone grabbing your hair or just grab you on a silly headlock.
Yes.
So it will be people use the argument, and I think it's silly to say, oh, but if you do competition jiu-jitsu, you're going to pull guard on someone on the street and try to berimbolo them. Well, of course you won't. Of course not. You will be able to do everything you need to do because you practice everything. Yeah. If in a tournament you choose to pull guard, doesn't mean you are limited to only that. So
exactly.
Sport jiu-jitsu in self-defense of a skilled versus a skilled person, I think is as good or better than any self-defense.
Good call. I like it. Should we have a look at Subversion 19, this card coming up this weekend, Saturday,
the 14th,
March the 14th, live from the UNSW Roundhouse.
Yeah, that will be, like we said in the beginning, they outdid themselves. We have how many? 14 fights in the prelims. And
10 on the main card.
And 10 on the main card. We have our Adrian Hart on fight 13 already, so he's in. Keep in mind, this is subject to change until the weekend, should anyone get injured or anything happen. But for now, we have 22 matches in total. Prelims, is looking stacked with, some names that are always there. Tony Pickroff, Grant Barlow, James Hampton versus Grant Barlow this time. That could be a really good match, and yeah, the prelims are already stacked. But then we go into the main card. You want to discuss the main card?
Well, look, I was just going to say, to add to what you're saying, we've got a great mix of athletes as well, from younger competitors all the way through to masters.
Yes.
Gi and no gi matches. I made a mistake. There's not 10 fights on the main card. There's 8 fights, so there is 22 matches in total. Yeah. Well, I mean, should we pick one from the prelims, and then let's talk about each fight on the main card? Let's start with the main card.
Yep.
And let's start with the main event, the super fight crown between Ariel Tabak and Mateus Gabriel?
Well, I think, Mateus Gabriel will not need any introduction. He's 3 times world champion. Extremely aggressive game, top and bottom, very hard to be stopped. Ariel Tabak, 2-0 on Subversion. Always a great competitor. He's got a extremely difficult technical and difficult guard to pass, which I believe for sure he will be playing guard against Mateus Gabriel and trying to test Mateus Gabriel in his passing skills. Always a great match. The question is, I think that the challenge for the night will be, can Ariel control Mateus in his guard and then create opportunities for attacks, or can Mateus be aggressive enough from the top and relentlessly, just pass Ariel's guard and then put him in deep trouble? I feel that will be the challenge of the night. But a great fight. I think will be definitely a very good fight to be the main fight of the night.
Who's bigger, Mateus or Ariel?
I think they're both lightweights. I think Ariel used to be lighter, but he's been going up. He looks pretty strong recently, so I believe they're both lightweights.
Ariel's got that dad strength with his new son.
Yeah, so definitely a bit of extra motivation to perform well.
Yeah, that's going to be an incredibly exciting match. Our co-main event is a middleweight no-gi match.
Yes.
So both of these competitors coming in around the 85 kilo mark.
Yeah, William Diaz versus Josh Aesop. Not a great match. I think Josh recently got his black belt, and last year he was, if I'm not wrong, World Masters brown belt champion. So it's a serious competitor. But they are competing in no gi, I believe. Yes.
Yes. No gi.
But they're both great competitors in the gi and in no gi. I believe, to be honest, that in the gi, William Diaz, in my personal opinion, is one of the best black belts, if not the best black belt we do have in Australia. So I would find hard for him to find a match here in Australia in the gi, in his weight. In no gi, I think Josh could be a very serious contender for him. I think another great match. It will be interesting to see how these guys will perform.
And I believe Will Diaz has been training with Mateus Gabriel in Perth in preparation for this event, so that's
which would be interesting to see, because Will is preparing for a no-gi match and Mateus Gabriel is preparing for a gi match. So how they have been would they train half or Well,
they might be like me.
Yeah.
Train only in the gi and then compete no gi.
That's it. But not going into that now, but that defends my theory, right? That Jiu-Jitsu is Jiu-Jitsu is the same.
Jiu-Jitsu is Jiu-Jitsu. Our 6th match of the main card is Ricky Pichon versus Ty Collier. This is another gi match, black belt match. Both seasoned competitors. They've both, actually Ty's been on Subversion 4 times before.
Yes, and look, they're both fresh black belts, first year black belts, and they were hungry brown belt competitors. They've been both performing really well in several tournaments for quite some time now, and I think it's a well-deserved position in the main card of Subversion. For these two guys to have their, I wouldn't say their debut, but
their black belt debut, as it were.
But yeah, they've competed at black belt already, I believe. But to have this match, against each other at Subversion will definitely set the tone for how things will go.
Well, they'll both have something to prove, both being veterans on the Subversion event cards multiple times. I think Ricky's been 7 times before. So both super veterans, they'll have something to prove at black belt here. The big boys, prior to that, a purple belt match at 120 kilos with Shane Seaman and Jaden Rutherford.
Well, I believe both of them are, at least Jaden is a seasoned competitor at Subversion, most likely. And this boy has been proving already, they've been getting some exciting matches, and I think will be really cool to see them in.
Yeah, well, Jaden's 4-0 on the Subversion card, so on Subversion events, he's a fun competitor to watch. It is his opponent's debut on Subversion, so let's see how he copes under the bright lights on the big stage. because I'm sure that there's a certain amount of nerves when you go out to compete in a general tournament, when you've got multiple mats and sort of people around the sideline. But when you are the center of attention, under the bright lights, with the whole crowd watching you, that's got to bring the nerves up.
I think it does, and people react different ways. Some people grow with that, and some people kind of feel more pressured and perform a little bit less. I personally find that, the more pressure, in my case, always add up to my result. I feel like more pressure, let's deliver a bit more. And no, it'll be interesting to see.
Yes. Well, now we've got a matchup between Jackie Hughes and Michelle Salva. We've got purple belt versus black belt at 66 kilos here. This is a no-gi match. We've got Michelle, who's competed twice on Subversion before.
Yes.
And Jackie making her debut.
Yes, no, that'll be interesting. And props to Michelle on taking a fight versus a purple belt. Sometimes you don't want to have that match against someone lower belt, because if you win, you lose. But no gi or no gi, I would say, but especially no gi nowadays. Look, there are purple belts that are killers. There are green belts beating black belts in ADCC tournaments. There are blue belts lining up black belts in ADCC tournaments. So, I think what should matter is your level of jiu-jitsu, and will be really cool to see. Like Michelle has always performed super well. So,
I guess with no-gi, there's a level of athleticism that plays into it, which is kind of the equalizer in some respects, right? Like, of course, there's technique, there's time, there's experience, there's strategy, but at some point you're just going out to fight, and the athleticism can kind of equalize that skill gap sometimes in no-gi.
100%. It does make a difference.
Yeah. Prior to that match, we've got a 77 kilo no-gi match between Dan Orehek and Bobby Sandu.
That's an interesting match.
Very interesting.
Dan, for many years, trained with us at Legacy Brookvale, and he is so complete in his game. He's like one of the hardest guys for you to catch, and I think his record doesn't match on how talented and how good he actually is.
Would agree.
And Bobby record speaks for himself. He's been always performing really well, and he's got like such a unorthodox game. Will be interesting to see, because Dan is really good at leg locks and a very scrambly guy, and Bobby, let's say, he's got a lot of legs to be attacked, but also a very good competitor in that sense. So I think it'll be a really good fight for us to.
And two good leg lockers. As you
Yes,
mentioned,
yes.
Dan loves a
With
knee bar.
completely opposite body types.
Yes. Daniel's a very sort of stocky, explosive guy. And Bobby's
Extremely hard
longer
to
and
submit,
lankier.
and gets out of any position. So it'll be interesting to see if Bobby can lock him in on something, or if Dan can find those legs.
Yeah, there's a long legs to knee bar.
Yeah.
Before that match, we've got a 90 kilo no-gi match between Connor Fitzpatrick and Red One Sharif. Red One had a good performance on Subversion 18. If I'm not mistaken, I think he won one of the performance bonuses.
I think he might have. Yeah, I remember he is his second. This will be his third match, I believe, on Subversion.
Yep.
And he had outstanding performance the other times he competed. So, it'll be really interesting to see how he performs in this one.
Yeah, well, Connor Fitzpatrick is stepping in for the injured Charles Randolph from Sydney West Martial Arts.
True, 1 week's notice.
Yeah.
So look, I always give respect to guys that are stepping in like that, 1 week's notice, or 10 days notice, or because you don't have the time to prepare, and you just gotta go in, like we said before, out on the big stage, put your name on the line, take the risk of embarrassment. But if you've been training, if you feel prepared, I feel that it sometimes can be a great opportunity.
Do you think, like short notice? Do you think that it's easier to take a short notice match in terms of nerves and build up, or is it harder?
I think in terms of nerves, it's a way easier because you don't have time to stress too much, and you have that already inbuilt excuse in your head if you need to. But at the same time, if you care about your performance and you care about your results, you know, it's short notice or or long notice, you still got to perform, you still got to deliver. You know, if you lose, that record goes there, 0-1, so you can't get away from that. You don't have to be nervous, and also it doesn't give you the chance to prepare for that specific opponent.
Yep.
At the same time, that doesn't give an opponent the chance to prepare for you.
Correct.
So I believe for guys that are more adaptable with their performance, with their training, I think it's good. For guys that are more pragmatic with their preparation, they need to prepare for a certain opponent for a certain period of time. It might be not so positive, but
I suppose when you've got that get out of jail free card, like I'm not meant to win anyway because it was short notice and I didn't get to prepare, you can almost just go in and throw yourself at the match 120%, give it your all, and let the chips fall where they fall.
Then the only variable is how much did the other guy prepare. If the other guy is ready to fight, you hit a concrete wall.
To kick off the main card, we have got a featherweight match in the gi with Hilton Sosa from SJJA against Xavier Sales from Alpha Jiu-Jitsu. Two very, very good Jiu-Jitsu athletes.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because Hilton, I read that he's Gabriel Souza, the current lightweight champion.
Gabriel's lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, champion for Subversion.
Yep.
And he's his younger brother and he's here competing. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs, being under the wing of the current champion, and coming in for his debut. Xavier Sales, experienced competitor, very active, explosive in his game. So I'm sure they're going to bring in some heat to the match.
Yes. Well, Hilton is a current training partner of the Subversion welterweight champion Joel Marco, who competed on the last Subversion event. Interested to see this. I had the privilege and pleasure to train with Xavier a few weeks ago.
Oh,
at
did
Legacy Parramatta. He dropped in, and man, he's sharp.
Sharp, yeah. Well,
very sharp.
He's definitely preparing for it, and I think he's been on the card before, and he's always performed well. So
let's look at the prelims. Let's just take one match from the prelims, and I'm going to be 100% transparent in my bias here. Let's look at Adrian Hart's match against Orson McComish.
Yes, well, that's a very interesting match, and I believe it's a great challenge for Adrian. I saw Orson last year at Pan Pacific. I believe competing at a purple belt, and if I'm not wrong, he won his division, and he was a very aggressive competitor, throughout his matches, and brings similar attributes to Adrian. He's, got gas in the tank, very decisive with his moves. He's got a full arsenal. I saw him playing from bottom and top, so he feels very complete. So a very dangerous competitor for this set of rules because he attacks a lot. Adrian had enough matches already, in tournaments, and his last Subversion match showed us that what he's there for. He understands the rules. He's adapted already to that set of rules. He knows to stay dominant, to score the points as per se, but to keep chasing the submission. Being so that in his last match, even though he was being dominant, he still pulled out a submission, that was kind of not super there and then to find. So I'm confident. He competed this weekend now just at a super fight event that we had in Marrickville, just to test his nerves, and nothing different, like sweep, back take, submission. So means his mindset is where it should be. I'm looking forward so much. The whole card looks great, but I think that could be the highlight of the prelims.
I think that's the highlight for me. I have a close relationship with Adrian. I know Orson is an MMA fighter, so he brings that MMA toughness. I think he's had one or two MMA fights so far, so that brings a level of sort of toughness and grit to the match. Yep. Adrian has been very focused on getting those submissions, and we saw him at Pampax in a couple of shootouts, sort of footlock shootouts with some big, gnarly, strong bowling ball-shaped people, and he won those things. So he's definitely got the grit to match that MMA grit of Orson. I think it's going to be an awesome match.
That'll be awesome. I think we have so much to look forward this 14th of March. at the Roundhouse that, yeah, not sure if we can give out too much more now.
Man, I can't wait. We get the best seat in the house. We get to sit there and watch amazing jiu-jitsu back to back. Best seat in the house, best view in the whole thing. If you haven't got your tickets yet, I think they are very limited, so you better hurry up and head on over to the link. I'll actually leave the link in the description for the YouTube video here.
Great.
So if there are tickets left, and I'll also leave the link for the live stream, which Thiago and I will be commentating together.
Yes, and don't forget as well to like and subscribe before you finish this video, so we can deliver more content to you in the future.
All right, well, that's it. That's another episode of Matt Chats in the Book. This is Matt Chats, your Jiu-Jitsu podcast. I'm Richard Kavanagh. This is Thiago Braga.
And
see you Saturday. After that, see you next time.
Was.